We are back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us. We're talking this morning national, international politics with what's happening in Syria and North Korea. With us this morning is Professor Marc Schwerdt from over at Lipscomb. He's a political science professor. We've got some phone calls coming in, 73775. I was asking him just a moment ago, I think about most of the most dangerous places in the world for an American to go to, and I think you certainly don't want to go vacation in Syria. Are there Americans living there now?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I would think not.
Probably not Americans. You would be obviously a target, possibly for kidnapping or otherwise.
Yeah.
But there are people, you say, that in the country right now can live. You just think that so much unrest, but they can live normal lives.
Yeah, I mean, not every part of the country, not every corner of the country has been bombed into oblivion.
Okay.
A lot of the big cities have. I mean, there's nobody in Aleppo who's running, a normal life. But if you go to some of the places that are closer to the Mediterranean, closer to in Damascus itself, like closer to the Lebanon and places like that, you can see the war is going on, but the damage is not there.
Yeah.
The lives have been able to maintain some sort of routine.
And we're talking businesses, way of life, restaurants, things like that.
The same thing happened in London during World War II.
Well, yeah, and you still see
same thing happened in Saigon during the Vietnam War, things like that.
All the bombs. All right, let's take a few phone calls. We'll go to Joe. Joe, good morning.
Good morning, Nick.
Hi, Joe.
Just a few comments and a question for the professor. We've still got foot soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq, and a few of them in Syria are supposed to be advisors, I think. Then you got the country of Iran and North Korea. It's always a threat. I just wonder why that America is the only country that's made any comment much about denouncing this chemical attack on the Syrian people. And none of the rest of them seem to want to step up and help America on some of this stuff. And that's kind of disappointing to me. We got the UN and they talk a good game, but they don't play very well. And as far as Americans living in Syria, Assad's wife is an American.
Yeah, we were talking about Assad, just the appearance of him, and over the years as I've watched him, and I guess you said he took over his father, but you told me he's a dentist. He was educated outside of Syria, and I don't know what kind of image you have of what a Syrian looks like, but I mean, he looks like someone that could be working for a bank downtown Nashville. Yeah. I'm serious. I mean, but he's been there in that mustache and very Caucasian with dark hair. I mean, and I guess his wife, I don't know, is that true? His wife's American?
I don't know. I know she has a background as like a flight attendant or something like that. So, I mean, she has been someone who's traveled internationally. I don't know where she's from, though.
But as far as his point to the rest of the world, I know after the attack, I saw a lot came out in support, and there were some that not so much so. Yeah,
I think that what you're seeing from the international community, whatever response they had got pushed off the front page by what Trump did because he was so decisive and did it so quickly. Usually, what we've experienced over the last several years has been that things sort of play out over several days. So we see comments from the prime minister of one country, the leader of Britain, the leader of Germany, the leader of France, the leader of China, and sort of getting a consensus kind of model here. And Trump is not going to operate that way. He's not going to wait on others when he feels like he's got a clear vision of things. The big picture that came out of this was the one that showed him in his Mar-a-Lago retreat with all of the military advisors and things like that in their own situation in there. That gives the impression he's listening to people. That gives the impression that he is taking advice and using it as opposed to simply reflexively sort of saying, okay, we're out of this, or let's go all in, or something like that. And, I think he's really kind of putting himself front and center on this. And again, I think that's driving off the front page. Other countries have commented on this. And as far as the United Nations goes, we've kind of put the United Nations on notice. If you read some things that like Nikki Haley, the new UN ambassador, said, the former governor of South Carolina, they have basically been saying, do something. Get out of our way, or something, things of that nature. You cannot get away with this anymore. That she said that to the Russians. She has said that to the Iranians. She has said that to various others. That we're not going to let the United Nations provide cover for those who are trying to legitimize, immoral types of positions or ones that we find to be against our interests. So like when, a group within the United Nations may set a vote against Israel. Basically, Haley has said, and I think on the instructions of President Trump, no, we're going to veto this. We're going to stand up against it. We're not just going to silently veto. We're not going to, let it go past us without comment. And that way, we're just going to maintain this kind of distance from this kind of thing and raise our noses against it. We're going to punch back against things, but we're not going to jump in with both feet, trying to, just set everything to right. And that's where the regime change kind of option, which is kind of out here on this end of the spectrum.
Which is what Nikki Haley's talking about.
Yeah, she has, but I think, again, I would look at that as much rhetoric as anything, because I just don't see the appetite being there either among the population, among the military, or among the Trump administration. There are people who want to do it. I think there's no doubt about that. But trying to recreate a regime in Syria is going to be as difficult as our efforts that we've had in Iraq and
I was going to say, I keep going back, and you can make an argument that things would be better off today if Saddam Hussein had never been taken out.
People make that argument.
ISIS may not exist.
Yeah.
And you don't know. Saddam was obviously a bad, bad dude. We know there were no weapons of mass destruction, but a bad, bad dude.
Right.
But, he kept that religious fanaticism down.
Yes.
And we removed him, and so be careful sometimes what you ask for. Let's go to Brian. Brian, good morning.
Hey.
Hey, Brian.
I like the professor. I think his wife's a flight attendant. That's pretty funny.
Well, that's what we think.
I think that's
No,
right.
no. You guys are pretty funny.
What is she?
Joe, I don't think I know. Joe is an idiot. But anyway, Joe, who he was thinking of is the wife of Jordan. And now
the
actually
King of Jordan,
she's British. But the old King of Jordan, the grandfather, his wife was American. She was a famous actress. There was a big thing about it. And she was very sophisticated. Jordan's always been, I hate to use the term most peaceful. I should just say peaceful. They are peaceful, and they always have been, and no one messes with Jordan. I don't even know if they got drawn into those crazy Israeli wars, 16 other one. I think they sort of, but they really weren't. But anyway, to get to the point at hand, I want to ask the professor, who said, or whose policy was it, world peace through every nation's own self-interest? And what was he referring to?
World peace through every nation's self-interest.
Through each nation's own self-interest.
Okay, I know that's a realist statement, but I could not tell you who did it.
Henry the K about Nixon on the little yacht in '72 when somebody asked him, Nixon said, I think we can win this. And the guy said, what, we can win the war? He said, Nixon said, no, we can win the peace. And Henry jumps in and said, yes, we can win the world peace through all nations' own self-interest, which is we don't mess with other people when they're doing that stuff. Just like you said, of course it would be a better area if Saddam was still there. We're not in the business of nation building. Never have been, shouldn't be.
Yeah, history shows it's just, he's right.
Well, I think the key phrase there also is, we know how to win, quote, wars as far as like that initial phase. What we have not been able to do is follow through in a way that serves a national interest and then win the peace as well. It's been a long time since we've decisively won a conflict. We've made people suffer a lot, and people have kind of said, well, we're not going to mess with the United States again. It's been a long time since that's been the case, but it's a mixed message, and we've shown that we can win some types of fights decisively, and we've shown sometimes that because political will, like in a place like Afghanistan or Iraq, the way things have gone for the last 10 years, 15 years almost now, we haven't really shown that we're willing to follow through on those things to the extent where it's a done deal. And it may not even be possible in some of those places.
Take a break on that note. When we come back, we'll take more phone calls for you. How about that?
Okay.
We'll
Sounds
take a
good.
break. Stay with us, folks.